Welcome to On-Demand Module 4, Teaching Success with National Geographic Science, Grades 3 through 5. This is one of 5 on-demand modules to help get you started using National Geographic Science, which I will refer to as NG Science throughout the session. My name is Angela Terry, National Consultant with National Geographic Learning, and I will be your presenter for this session. As I said before, this is one of 5 on-demand training modules to help you prepare to use NG Science in your classroom. Hopefully, you've already completed Module 1, Start the Year Off Right with NG Science. If not, you may want to stop this session and view it now. If you will be teaching kindergarten, first, or second grade, be sure to watch those modules as well. And if you will be using the ExamView CD-ROM, be sure to view Module 5 to help get you started. In this session, we'll be taking a thorough look at the instruction in NG Science Grades 3 through 5. We'll begin by reviewing the NG Science student and teacher components, including an overview of all of the resources that are built right into the Big Idea resource books. Then we'll get into the instruction for the unit launch. Next, we'll take a detailed look at the Big Ideas instruction found in each chapter, and we'll also take a look at the NG Science assessment tools that are available to you. And finally, we'll give a quick look at the unit wrap-up. As a reminder, at each grade level, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students will have one Big Ideas book for each of the science strands: Earth, Life, and Physical. They will use one science inquiry and writing book all year long as they work through the inquiry activities, and they will have access to a variety of Explore on Your Own books for each unit. These are independent reading leveled books that help extend the content learning. Before we move on to the teacher resources, let's take a few moments to see all of the resources that are available for students right at their fingertips in the Big Ideas book. First, students have direct access to objectives that will be covered within the chapter. The bold-faced type at the end of each objective indicates the section heading of this chapter that addresses that specific objective. Each chapter addresses one big idea, which is the Big Idea question. In the top right corner, students are reminded of the Tech Trek tools that are available on MyNG Connect. They will see these reminders at point of use throughout the pages in the chapter as well. On the Science Vocabulary page, we introduce the vocabulary. This is not where students will master the vocabulary. They will get lots more practice with these words within the chapter. Photographs are used as often as possible for concrete representation of each word. This will help lower level readers and English language learners. And again, you see the Tech Trek icon in the top right corner that reminds students they can play vocabulary games. As I've said, photographs are used as often as possible to teach content, like you see in this example where we are comparing a basketball to a small blue dot on the page. Students are prompted at the bottom of the page with Before You Move On boxes. This is an informal assessment of content they've learned within the current section, and the last question is always a science process skills question. With NG Science, you can teach the concepts using the pictures and not just the text. Science in a Snap opportunities are built in as additional mini investigations to help students grasp a concept more concretely. And when relevant, students are referred to the digital library where they can view videos and images that support the content. In each chapter, students get to read National Geographic exclusive articles that relate directly to the Big Idea. There is an in-book chapter wrap-up and review at the end of each chapter. Students also get to learn about a variety of science careers in each chapter that relate to the big idea. After the Big Idea chapter instruction, students have the opportunity to become an expert by reading additional National Geographic content. Finally, at the end of each chapter, students have the chance to share with each other and compare what they've learned by talking, reading, writing, or drawing. Pause the session and take a few moments to explore one of the Big Idea books for your grade level. See if you can find examples of a few of the features I've just shared. Once you're done exploring, just click the play button and the session will resume. As a reminder, for teacher components, just like students, you will have one teacher's edition for each science strand: Earth, Life, and Physical. There is also a Science Methods and Process Skills Big Book and Teacher's Guide that's used to help build scientific literacy for your future scientists. You have your Learning Masters and Assessment Handbooks and an ExamView CD-ROM. Each unit has its own complete science inquiry kit that contains many of the materials you need for each inquiry investigation in that unit. This is a separate purchase. So now that we review the components you will be using, let's get into the actual instruction. For each unit, Earth, Life, and Physical, in NG Science grades 3 through 5, you will follow the same instructional path. You will always begin with the unit launch and setting up the science notebook. Then you'll work through all of the chapters in the Big Ideas book, which also follow a consistent instructional path. The number of chapters varies by unit, but each unit finishes with a unit wrap-up. Let's dive in now and take a look at the unit launch. For this session, I will be using Grade 4 Earth Science, Chapter 4 as an example. But everything that I share will be applicable to all 3rd through 5th grade units and chapters. If you focus on the purpose of each lesson rather than the specific content, you will be able to easily apply what you learn to the level you are working with, because each unit follows the same pattern. The first step in the unit launch is to introduce the big ideas for the unit. These are also the chapter titles. The opening pages of each student book provide students with an introduction to the type of science the unit will cover, Earth, Life, or Physical, and you'll begin by tapping into students' prior knowledge and having them read the information provided. Once they've read the introductions to the big ideas, ask the questions provided in the teacher wrap. Questions are provided for each of the big ideas. Wrap up the introduction of the big ideas with a few questions about what they've learned and what interests them. NG Science also provides differentiated instruction for language support for students at all proficiency levels. Now that students know what they're going to be learning, the rest of the unit launch connects the learning to a real scientist who works in the field. After reading about the scientist and sharing the Think Like a Scientist information from the Teacher's Edition, share the key information about the video from the Teacher's Edition, then watch the video on MyNG Connect. Discussion questions are provided in the Teacher's Edition, and there is a Science at Home letter which is available in 7 languages that you can use to help students share what they are learning with their families. After the unit launch, it's time to dig into the chapter content. Most chapters will begin with an inquiry activity. As a reminder, the Module 1 on-demand training, Start the Year Off Right with NG Science, includes a detailed description of each level of inquiry. Be sure to watch it before you begin using NG Science if you've not already done so. Now we'll move on to the chapter instruction. Teaching students reading comprehension strategies can help them access science content and support their scientific inquiries. So within the Big Ideas instruction, National Geographic Science focuses on 4 research-based reading comprehension strategies to enhance reading comprehension and content area learning before, during, and after reading. Each chapter throughout the unit includes notes to support your teaching of these key reading comprehension strategies. Before and during reading, students preview and predict by looking over the text, forming ideas about how the text is organized and what it says, and confirming ideas about how the text is organized and what it says. Students monitor and fix up during reading by thinking about whether the text is making sense and how it relates to what they already know, and identifying and clearing up comprehension problems. During reading, students also make inferences by using what they know to figure out what is not said or shown directly. And after reading, students sum up what they've learned by pulling together the text's big ideas. Before beginning each chapter, share the chapter objectives with the students. As you can see in the bottom of the teacher wrap, this is where we see the first reading comprehension strategy applied. Each chapter begins with the introduction of the big idea question by tapping into students' prior knowledge. Next, you'll introduce the big idea question and preview some of the pages listed linking the headings directly to the big idea question. As you preview these pages, you'll create a chart with your students that lists the chapter headings. Have students orally share what they expect to find in each section. You will use the chart again at the end of the chapter. Differentiated instruction for vocabulary support is provided to help English learners at all proficiency levels as they discuss the big idea question. Now it's time to teach the content vocabulary. Remember, students are also learning science process vocabulary through the inquiry activities. When teaching vocabulary, whether it's content or process words, you'll always use the same routine. Pronounce the word, explain its meaning using the photo and definition provided, and encourage elaboration. On the student book page, all of the content words for the chapter are listed alphabetically with their pronunciation right here in the top corner. Various supports are provided for each word below. Again, the pronunciation is included, the word is highlighted and will appear that way throughout the entire text. A student-friendly definition is included along with the page where the word first appears. A sample sentence that relates directly to the visual is also provided for each word. NG Science also includes learning masters for the vocabulary that can be added to the science notebook. Now it's time to begin reading the Big Ideas text. The instructional path for reading is the same as you work through each chapter. You begin each lesson by tapping students' prior knowledge and setting a purpose for reading. The next step is to teach students as they read using the content provided in the teacher wrap. This will include the reading strategies and the science content. You can decide how students will read the text, whether it be buddy reading, partner reading, or choral reading. Each lesson wraps up with an opportunity to assess what students have learned through the Before You Move On questions. These Before You Move On questions are not only listed in your teacher's edition, they also are right on the student page so students can assess their own understanding. Differentiated instruction for English learners is also included throughout the chapter. Pause the session and take a few moments to look through the remaining pages of the chapter you're exploring and identify a few teaching supports. Stop when you reach the conclusion and review page. Once you're done, just click the play button and the session will resume. Now that you've had a minute to explore on your own, I'd like to point out a few key features I hope you've discovered. First, I've already shown you a few opportunities for differentiating instruction, but as you can see, additional differentiated instruction is provided for students who need extra support and those who need a little bit more of a challenge. Raise Your PsyQ is an opportunity to raise the bar a little and share some additional information with your students as it relates to the content they are studying. The science misconceptions are provided to clarify things students and sometimes even teachers may have misconceptions about. Science in a Snap opportunities are provided throughout each chapter, and these activities offer quick investigations to activate understanding of science concepts. Social studies and math and science references provide an opportunity to link the science concept to other content areas and think like a scientist in relation to math. And Extend Learning does just that, provides an opportunity to extend what students are learning. As I mentioned before, the reading comprehension strategy instruction is built in throughout the teacher wrap. There are lots of opportunities to integrate technology for both students and teachers. I'm sure you've noticed the Tech Trek icon throughout the student book pages. The plus sign seen here indicates additional enrichment activities that are available for students to access on MyNG Connect. And when students are reading their Big Idea resource book online, they can just click the link and be taken right to that activity. You should have also seen inquiry activities, red-topped pages embedded within the instruction. At the end of each chapter, there is always a conclusion and review section. This is where you will revisit the chart you made during the Big Ideas introduction as students sum up what they've learned about the big idea. Then it's time to discuss the big idea and work on their note-taking skills in their science notebooks. Students have an on-page vocabulary and big idea review built right into their books. And this lesson also provides an opportunity for students to write about what they've learned about the big idea. This section always includes an image to help inspire their writing. The next step in the Big Ideas instruction gives students the opportunity to read about a science expert in the field they are studying. Instruction includes introducing the scientist, teaching specifics about the job, and assessing what they've learned. Then students move on to the Become an Expert section, where they apply what they've learned through concrete examples found in the real world. In the Become an Expert section, you have the opportunity to help students access the content in each section, review the comprehension strategies, practice note-taking in the science notebook, and assess their learning. You can assign the 2-page Become an Expert spreads to different groups of students, and once they've read their parts, a Share and Compare section is built right in. Students can turn and talk, read, write, and draw what they've learned about and discussed. This is also where the Sum Up reading strategy is applied. The final piece of Big Ideas instruction is the Explore on Your Own books. These books provide an opportunity for group or independent reading. They are leveled for your low to mid students and your mid to high students, and they cover the same content at different reading levels to motivate all students to read independently. The inside front cover of each Explore on Your Own book provides students with reminders of each of the 4 reading strategies they have been working on throughout the reading. Pause the session and take a few moments to explore the Become an Expert and explore on your own selections. Can you see how these additional readings provide an opportunity to deepen students' content knowledge even more as they focus on one big idea? Remember, once you are done, just click the play button and the session will resume. Now let's take a look at the assessment tools available. The assessment handbook for each grade, 3, 4, and 5, includes chapter tests, chapter self-assessments, unit tests, and benchmark tests. These National Geographic Science assessments have been designed so that frequent, varied assessment informs instruction every step of the way. The assessment handbook also includes inquiry rubrics and inquiry self-reflections to assess students' performance on inquiry activities. All of these tools are available on MyNG Connect. You also have access to the ExamView CD-ROM, which allows you to generate custom chapter and benchmark tests. With National Geographic assessments, you can easily monitor students' progress towards understanding the big ideas of life, earth, and physical sciences. Now, the final step in each unit is the unit wrap-up, which includes the open inquiry activity. The unit wrap is also made up of a variety of small group projects that students can complete to share the knowledge they've learned throughout the unit. Congratulations, you've almost completed this on-demand module for NG Science. In this session, we started off by briefly reviewing the program components before taking a detailed look at the instructional design of each unit, including the unit launch and Big Ideas instruction. I also shared the assessment tools you will have available as you wrap up the unit. Here are some next steps to think about before viewing your next session. View the unit launch videos on MyNG Connect to become familiar with the scientists. Study the instruction for your next unit, and plan some time to view the remaining on-demand modules related to your grade level. And please take a moment to complete the evaluation on the next slide. Thank you for attending, and don't forget to check the Attachments tab on the left side of the screen for your certificate of completion, and check back soon for your next module.